Alright, today we're going to be looking at this little bundle of joy right here. Bought this on eBay. If you can read through that packaging, it is a Kato. You say Kato, I say Kato, or reverse that. Because I always say Kato. That's what it looks like. Alright, if I can open it up. Man, they did a good wrap job. Here's what we're looking at today. Union Pacific SD40-2. Been kind of eyeing this one up for a while. I've seen them around. This should be a brand new engine. And it was very vacuum sealed with the case there, so had to get that off. That was some struggles. But here it is! Look at that. Very cool. I don't think I have any like this. Obviously I got some other diesel, some other Union Pacifics, but this specific style I do not have. Like I said, brand new. I paid $85 flat for it, all in with shipping and everything. Like I said, it should be brand new. Wheels look brand new, packaging felt brand new, everything screams brand new. But look at that front end. Yeah. These are the kind of trains that I feel like were running around when I was a kid, you know, early 90s, 80s, I guess, is maybe what this style's from. Could be 70s, but that is a good looking UP engine for sure. Loved all the little detailing. Look at that. That's really cool. You know, N scale. The video blows it up, of course, but like in real life, that is tiny, tiny, tiny. I love all the little bits. Kato always does a fantastic job with all the detailing. They also tend to put this little thing on the bottom, so we gotta take that off, of course. But yeah, it looks great. Looks like there's two nice front headlights there. We'll see that when we run it around. Got those standard Kato connectors, front and back. Love all the little vents up top. That looks cool. And of course the paint scheme really pops with that UP look. Looking great. Looking really great. So that's cool. Let me set her down. See what else is in the box. We got some little road names. I tend to not to use these, and little hoses for the front and back couplers. I tend to not use those either, but they're there. That's cool, I suppose. Oh, here's some books. It's the SD40-2 Early Edition Union Pacific. It was the most popular second generation diesel with sales of over 3,000 in the United States alone. Chicken wire grills. UP ordered over 886 units, apparently, to replace or eventually amass over 1,000 SD40s. Got some history on the back here. For mergers with other railroads, blah, 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 blah. Says that this one was an original to UP. Cool. So there's some history that I didn't know, but nice that they included that. This looks fantastic. Let's get it on the track and see how it actually operates. Okay, got it all teed up here on the track, looking nice and snazzy for sure. Got loaded up with a nice old school style freight American train, because it's a very old school style freight American train. So that's what we went with a very UP kind of flare color scheme at the end there. That's what I could muster and pull up with. Thought it was appropriate with some big like green cars in the middle. Even got the UP engine there, or the UP thing there. And of course, running Oppo, we have the one and only big boy pulling the one and only Milwaukee Road Olympian Hiawatha passenger set. So thought it was appropriate to slap that on the other side. To run alongside this guy. Well, not alongside, because he's going in the opposite direction, but that's who he'll be running with on track 2. But we're not here for that, we're here for this, track 1. This guy's right here, ready to go, so let's tee it up and see how smooth it is out of the gate. Again, no oil or anything prep work needed normally for these Kato engines. If I can get the camera to stay, we can start her up. Cool, well, it's always good to see a smooth, nice, awesome, perfect runner out of the gate. A little bit of a noise, I accidentally hit my stop button. A little bit of a noise there, but not too bad overall. We'll see what happens when it tends to warm up some. Usually these brand new things need like a half a cycle to get all warm and loosened and up to speed. But it looks really cool right now, very old school. This is the kind of train that I would have ran, you know, early 90s as a kid around my little like Christmas tree. Would have been something like this. There it is against the big boy. Cool. It really picked up speed there. Look at it fly now. Whoa. Catching it around here in the shadows, you'll be able to see the lights. And yes, it does have two big front ones, or at least on top. That's cool. Always good to see some lights. I'm big on the lights. Of course, freight trains don't really have that many lights, so only the engine would. Still a bit of a whine, but that's alright. It ain't too noticeable. I've definitely seen worse. That's for sure. Here it comes flying around the corner. Yeah. That is so great. Let me slow it down a little. That's not too bad. That's about the... So I'm running the big boy on the right and this one's on the left. It's both at the same speed right now. You can see how fast this guy is going. Of course, the different track operates differently depending on the power. But look at that, that's really cool. Nice and slow, very smooth. That's what you want to see. I like it. Of course, the farther away it gets from that power source, the more it's going to struggle. I might need to tick it up a tick. Of course, the big boy can run just fine at this speed, so that's the real test. I usually put it at 11, and this one's on 11, so can it make it all the way around at 11? Here's the big boy. Another cool meetup. You can see how much faster it's going. Of course, that's a totally different circuit. It's a little bit more closer to the power than it is on the right side, where this one is. But it's still moving, and it's not sputtering yet, so it might actually make it around that corner. That's the real test, because this is the farthest point away from the power. Right here, when it circles around, it connects to this cross box. Because there is no power, like the power ends for some reason on these cross connects. So everything over here is a lot closer to the power than everything on that side, so right here is the farthest point. But it is really starting to slow down compared to where it was. But it is moving, so I have hope. But normally you might want to crank it to 11, because this is... Oh! Is it stopping? It just might. I might need to crank her up to get around the Hogwarts. Yep, it stopped. Let me up in the power. Alright, so I cranked it up a little, but it might need a little tappy to keep going there. This is kind of a longer train than what you would probably typically run with this, especially since they're older cars. They're going to have a lot more resistance in them wheels. So probably you'd either need a much newer freight train behind it, so there's a lot less resistance, or up that power. But this is probably the lowest it's got to go. I cranked it right to a little over 12 o'clock. And that's what it's giving you there. So good to know. Again, every engine kind of behaves differently. We'll see what happens when it crosses this box. I'm expecting a big burst of speed, as engines tend to do once they hit it. Ready? Yeah! Definitely sped up, but it wasn't like a huge kickoff. Here's the big boy again. Alright, well this is fun. Definitely like the look. Like I said, it's very old school style, at least old school to me, because this is like classic, what I would have had as a kid kind of stuff. In the early 90s would have been for me. So very, very cool. And I don't hear that whine anymore, so that's good. Whine's kind of winding down. Sometimes newer engines just stop after a warm-up, so yeah, it's nowhere near as loud as it was before. That's good. So there's the speed right now compared to where it was at 11. Yeah, I'm a fan. A little pricey on the price. 85 from me is a little bit high. Would have loved to have gotten this for like 70. That would have been really a good deal. But 85 seems fair for what it is. Again, no DCC or anything fancy like that. I don't have that. I don't have that junk. I just want to run a train on a single track around a single loop with another loop around the other side. So this works for me. I don't need anything fancy. I certainly don't want sound. Oh God, it's just it hurts the ears. I don't like it. It's just not good. I haven't had any sound. No sound box has sounded good to me, so I don't deal with that. Whoa, it just slowed down there. Do I need to clean the track? Interesting. I don't think it did that last time. Hopefully I didn't pick anything up, but it's kind of moving now. Or not. People tend to ask, you know, I'm always update. It just stopped. What the heck? People tend to ask, hey, what's the latest thing you got in here? I don't know why it has stopped on me. Gotta look at that. Maybe it did pick something up. This little cheapo helicopter is a late addition. I just kind of threw it there. And then I also added Hudson Yards here as this big building in the back. I think that's the last thing I did. But let's see what happened here. Hopefully to not pick anything up. People always say, oh, don't run N-scale on carpet, but honestly, I've never had a carpet issue, ever. Been doing this for like 9 years, never had an issue. And until today, maybe, who knows, but carpet fibers don't get up in my engines at all. That is a common myth. What does get up in there is like dust and like hair and whatever else tends to be out there, but that would get up on your engines and tables anyway. Let's see what happened. Don't see anything right now. Maybe it was just having some trouble with that pull. Don't die on me already. Whoa. No traction tires. Ah, it's taking off on me. These American Katos tend to not have them, but the Japanese equivalents do. I prefer them myself because then it helps you pull an actual train. Sometimes they don't let you pull up a hill. You gotta be very careful what you can tack on. Yeah, I don't see anything, so what I'm gonna do is back it up a little bit, get my re-railer, and then let's throw it on in reverse, just in case anything did get spun up in there. Sometimes that helps. Yeah, it's taking off now. We're all right. There's a little unboxing for you. Pretty cool addition. I'll throw it in the pile of my other engines, of course. Always on the lookout for something new and unique and different, and this is definitely one of those because I don't have anything in that style For an American diesel SD40-2, I guess. Whatever it's supposed to be. Here it comes again, once more on the flyby in reverse. Very, very cool. I like it. Big win for me. Thumbs up. It's getting. I approve. This has been a fun one. So. Whoa! It really took off there. You can hear it wind up. There it goes off into the sunset to be seen at some future date.